I realized these kids were coming to me after they had lost that important first decade of their lives. So they had already internalized some of the problems, thinking that there was something wrong with them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Course Creation Show. My name is Iman Aghay. I am the founder of Success Road Academy and your host at Course Creation Show. And I am so excited for our conversation, for my conversation with Dr. Ali Lankerani, also known as Dr. L. And I can't just wait to hear all the things that he wants to share about how we can use our brain or the impact of our brain on health and how we show up and share a message with the world. And it's just it was such an amazing experience for me to see Dr. L's journey on how he comes up with his idea about his course and how he created his course and how his course is making a difference in the world. As you guys know, we usually begin the conversation about the expert that I interview. We ask them about how they chose their topic and the target market, how we ask them about how they promote themselves and about all the things related to their course creation. And then we talk about their expertise and how, as online course creators, we can use their expertise and their knowledge in our businesses to grow our business and have a better life in general. So Ali, I am super excited for having you, man. Before we go any further, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Majan. It's nice to be here. Thank you, audience, for being here. I'm very excited to share the information that I have with you. My name is Ali Lankerani. I go by Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer. I'm a clinical neuroscientist, and my postdoctorate is in helping families who had children with autism spectrum disorder, so ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, Tourette's, those kind of things. And I grew up with ADHD long before there was such a diagnosis. So I was described as that bright kid that would interrupt the class as often as he could after the first 5 minutes. So that's basically where I come from. And I ran a private practice for about 10 years. Helping families with kids that had autism spectrum disorder. And I did identify with the children, and I also identify with the parents, realizing the frustrations that they've had financially, relationship-wise, and with the kids. So that's basically where I started. And eventually I realized that I had people that were coming from 3.5 hours away or 3 different states to see me. And I saw the brick-and-mortar office. This is about 10 years ago. And I saw that that was a limitation to how I could serve the world and the people. And the other part of it was that I realized these kids were coming to me after they had lost that important first decade of their lives. So they had already internalized some of the problems, thinking that there was something wrong with them. And the parents, their relationship was strained, finances were strained because they were going from therapy to therapy, hoping that something would help. So I realized that I wanted to be more proactive about this and do something before the kids would end up with these diagnoses and have lost so many years of their lives, basically. So that's when I moved into the online world. And that's how my journey began.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's fantastic. That's amazing. And so can you tell us a little bit about your course? What was the course you created, or what was the first course you created? Because I think you have multiple courses right now, right? So tell us about the first one. Tell us about the first course you created. What's the course about, what it does, what it helps people with?
This is a product of my ADHD, I believe. When I first started, I started with consulting after practice. And I had a bit of identity crisis that if I'm not seeing patients, then what kind of a doctor am I? So it took a couple of years, and then I started doing consulting. And then eventually, about 4 or 5 years ago, I created what was called Optimal Beginnings at the time. And Optimal Beginnings took off really well in the sense that I gained about 19,000 followerships within 1 year. But the trouble was, because I didn't have a successful business model as soon as I stepped away or changed focus, the wheels fell off of it basically and fell apart. So long story short, fast forward to about 2 years ago, and I started my course creation. That's where I really started my process of making this something that is lasting. So the first part was that I tried to transfer optimal beginnings into something that would serve new and expecting parents. So I was surprised when I talked to parents that when I asked them, what is it you want to learn about healthy child development? They would say things that weren't even part of what I taught, basically. They were interested in how to paint the nursery and what kind of clothes to get for the kids and, you know, spousal relationships. Whereas here I am trying to teach them how to optimize the brain. So eventually I created a course called Nesting Amazing Kids based on my research, which teaches the parents how to have happy and healthy children that lead full lives. And then that last important part, while you enjoy the process. Because a lot of parents kind of get stuck in the process of parenting and running the life, and they forget to enjoy the process. And then before they know it, they become empty nesters and they miss those days that they had an opportunity to form these bonds with their kids. So that's one of my courses. But then I also realized that when I was in clinic, I wouldn't even start on helping the kids until the foundations of getting their brain together and supported. Like I wouldn't be able to ask the brain to do something to change if it wasn't supported. And the foundational piece for that was the nutrition. So I realized that healthy eating was an important part of it. So I created a second course, which was initially called Mastering Healthy Eating. And of course, my company is called Role Model Maker, and we're trying to create future role models by leading by examples, because it's a lot easier for the kids to learn by example as opposed to being preached to. So the course that I created currently is called Role Model Meal Mastery, which is to create courses that the entire family can participate in, enjoy, and is actually good for you, basically, and it improves your health and your performance and your longevity, all of it at the same time.
Amazing journey. Amazing journey. That's actually, you know, and here's the thing, like many times when I'm speaking with people, we need to talk about like where did they get their passion, where did they get their story, like what in their story actually inspired them. And the fact that your story, like you shared your story with us at the beginning, and like how you lived through some challenges yourself, and how that shaped that passion to help more parents and people around you to kind of have a better life. That's amazing. And so congratulations on all the things that you have done and you've achieved. So Ali, tell us about a little bit about how you are marketing yourself. How do you create that? Because you've created so many courses, right? You use Ultimate Course Formula, which is our system on how to create and sell online courses.
Correct.
And for those of you who are watching this and don't know about Ultimate Course Formula, you really want to know about the Ultimate Course Formula. It's the one of the fastest, most effective ways in the world, if not the fastest, most effective way in the world, on how to create and launch your online courses successfully. And it's just many of our speakers, many of the people who are on Course Creation Show, and many other experts in the world who are successfully creating and selling their online courses have used Ultimate Course Formula to, it's just the 8-step process to create and launch their online courses. And Ali just kind of uses Ultimate Course Formula, which is kind of, by the way, it's I'm the creator of Ultimate Course Formula, if that's not apparent. But anyway, yeah, I was like, sometimes people don't know that, right? So just pointing that out. But anyways, so Ali, tell us a little bit about your experience, like how you went through it, how you went through the steps, and what you did and what happened.
So again, Iman, first of all, hats off to you for Ultimate Course Formula, because I have done this the hard way, and I have seen the growth and I've seen it all fall apart. And the fact that now I have a system, I mean, we all have gone through COVID, for instance, and for the past 6 months, one of the biggest challenges that caused my previous business to fall apart was that during summertime, I'm the primary caretaker of our children. When the kids were home, I couldn't tend to my business. So that's how the wheels actually fell apart. And this time with COVID, the kids have been home for the past 6 months and my business has been thriving more than ever. And it didn't happen just by myself. It's because of the business structure and all the different pieces that went into that engine, that marketing engine and everything else. So when it comes to what I did before is I used Facebook. And it was very impersonal and there was no relationship built. Now, what I have done for the past year is actually create networking relationships, JVing, joint venture partners. And basically, because the people who are promoting me understand who I am as a person, they're much more passionate and remember me much better. And the referrals that come in are much different. The other part is summits and talking on stages, which is how I initially met Iman. I was looking for public speaking opportunities, basically, and learning to become a more effective speaker. And that in itself was something else that actually really improved this whole process. Because when I am standing on a stage and I talk, I share my story, that in itself allows people to see where I'm coming from. I do have the credibility from the authority figure of like, I have my postdoctorate and everything else. But unless I get in front of people, that becomes very difficult. And my joint venture partners have allowed me to be able to get in front of people on my schedule with the people that are the right audience for me. So that's basically how I've been able to promote myself and talk to the parents and share my message with them.
Hey, this is Iman Aghay and you're listening to the Course Creation Show. If you want to create and launch your online course and you don't have a mentor who can take your hand and walk you every step of the way to successfully create and launch your course, please go to successroadacademy.com/apply and book a session with one of our mentors who can tell you all about how our mentorship programs can help you to create and launch your course. Now back to the show.
Amazing, thanks. So, now, when you said that you speak on stages, you speak also on summits, you speak on podcasts. Like I know that you are actually been very active in all those things. So tell us how you actually get access to the speakers, to the stages, to all of those things.
So one of the first things that I actually learned in right after Ultimate Course Formula was the importance of having stages, and if you can't find stages, creating your own. So I actually am the creator of Amazing Parents Network, and I have an East Coast and a West Coast chapter of that network, and I'm hoping to create one in the Midwest as well. And I host regular talks on the stage for those people, and I invite people to those stages. Basically, this is from Meetup, for instance. And then I also have my joint ventures who do summits. I speak there. I also have Facebook as a platform. I have YouTube as a platform where I speak. And then before COVID, I would never say no to a stage. Any opportunity I had to be able to get on the stage and share my story, that's what I did. And technically, you should be passionate about what you talk about. So if that is the case, then anytime you have an opportunity to talk about it, you should take that up. And that's what I have done, basically. I never say no to a stage.
Okay, that's amazing. So you have created a network for the people that you want to actually speak in front of. So you kind of like, I actually always say like, if you don't give it to me, I'll build it myself. And this is kind of like that at the beginning, obviously. And then now that you have the network, you can also kind of invite other experts, other guests to your network, and you can help others. So that's brilliant, by the way. Like for those of you who are listening and you are wondering, like, how do I get stage? How do I get myself in front of people? That's actually one of the most brilliant ways to create a small group. It doesn't have to be big. It will grow big if you start giving value and adding value to people, and on a regular basis invite other experts. And so more and content comes, and you know, trust me, there are so many experts out there who are looking to get exposure, and they also have connections that are more than they're more than happy to actually share those connections with you as well. Okay. So for all of you who are listening to this and watching us, if you want to create your online course and you haven't created your online course because you don't have a mentor who can take your hand and walk you every step of the way to create and sell your online course, I highly recommend to you to go to successroadacademy.com/apply and fill in the application form. You select the time to talk to a mentor. There's zero cost to that. So simply go to successroadacademy.com/apply. Just fill in the application form and select the time, fill in the application form, and then get on a phone call with a mentor who can help you take your hand and walk you every step of the way and help you create and launch your course successfully, same as Ali did, same as another over 1,000 students of ours create and launch their online courses successfully. So, Ali, let's talk about the brain. Let's talk about the brain and how the brain can impact our health, impact how the way we show up, and impact the way that that we share our message in the world.
Well, I think you actually started it beautifully about sharing your message with the world. So I am passionate about making sure that we optimize how a person shows up in life so that they can optimize their potential and sharing their message with the world, and in the process optimize humanity's potential. More than ever before, we have this need for all these the resources are dwindling, our numbers are greater than ever, the challenges that we face are greater than ever. We need solutions, we need leaders. And in order to do that, one of the things that basically has to start is we need to take control of how we lead our lives. And in order to take control of how you lead your life, you need to be able to control your body. And the organ responsible for controlling your body is your brain. It controls the function of everything else in there. So if you are interested in controlling the function of your brain, then there are certain things that you need to do, because ultimately your health flows from top to bottom. You also manifest from inside out. So if you can take care of the function of your body and the function of your brain, then you can actually have control over your life and how you show up in life and go from there. So in order to do that, there are a few basic things that allow people to have their brain supported. This becomes even more important the younger the person is, because the changes that it makes in the brain become lifelong and lasting, basically. You can literally rewire the brain with just these three things. The first one is that the foundational piece, as I mentioned earlier, is nutrition. Making sure that you get the right ingredients in there, because your brain needs building material and it also needs to repair and rebuild itself. And in doing so, you need to have the right ingredients via nutrition. So that's the first and the foundational piece to the brain. Controlling what goes into your mouth becomes essential for that. Then the other two pieces is rest and oxygenation. So food, rest, and oxygenation are the supporting and the foundational blocks to make sure that your brain can do what you ask of it. A lot of people want to achieve so many things. You want to do things, but in order to do that, you need to be able to, if you ask your brain to deliver, then your body needs to be able to do that. And the only way you can do it is you support it. So you support your brain and the brain can support you. You support your body and your body can support you. So the only sustainable way to success, the only way that you can achieve what you want in life long-term without breakdowns, be it social and family-wise or health-wise, is to work with your body. Evolutionarily, your body has been designed to do what you want it to do. Genetically, same thing. Your lifetime and what you have gone through your experiences has shaped your brain in such a way that now, if you decide to ask of your brain to do something, it is the perfect tool to do that for you. But in order to do that, you need to support it. So you need the nutrition, you need rest, and you need oxygenation. So nutrition, of course, we understand is the building blocks. Rest is where your body, your brain repairs and rebuilds itself. And also it saturates the tissues with oxygen. And the oxygen is actually what you burn, the fuel that you give your body, the food that you give it. So think of a jet engine. A jet engine cannot operate in outer space because there's no oxygen there. So the space shuttle has to carry its own oxygen. Well, luckily we don't have to go to outer space and perform. We can just stay on the planet. And in doing so, we have plenty of oxygen. You just have to take the time to make sure you take it in and make sure your tissues are filled with it. So rest is where you get that. Proper breathing techniques, making sure your air is pure. Those are all important parts. So fuel, rest, and oxygenation. Now, if you have those ingredients for your brain, then the next part is proper stimulation. And proper stimulation does not mean stimulants like sugar and caffeine or video games. Proper stimulation, we're talking about movement, we're talking about socialization and interaction, because these movements, these interactions coordinates your brain and coordinates your body with your brain. And in doing so, you become more connected internally. And as you become more connected internally, you have a better sense of what it is that you want and what you are going for. And you can manifest that into the world as a result. People who don't have a good understanding of who they are, what they stand for, what they stand against, are going to have a tough time out in the world delivering their message. They're going to have a tough time to stand for something or against something, or to share their message with the world, to make connections in the world. To do that, you have to make the connections inside of you first. There's a part of your brain called the insular cortex, responsible for empathy. It's one of the evolutionarily higher brain centers that has been evolved. And it cannot evolve unless you have had adequate movement and you've had adequate coordination between different brain centers and between your body. So doing that enables you to connect to people socially outside of you, the people that you love and the people that actually can deliver your message. We were talking about JVing. This is basically where it starts. This is the beginning point of JVing, to be able to connect to somebody. So that's how you show up to the world. Internally, you connect to yourself, you make sure your brain is supported. Then externally, you do the same thing. You support those around you and you connect to those around you. And that's basically how I go.
You know, actually, it's very interesting. Many times when we talk to other entrepreneurs, especially the ones who haven't been an entrepreneur for some time, or haven't like have some limitations in their business growth, they don't necessarily see the importance and the value of the taking care of their brain or food or body, like the combination of it. And like, I mean, like there's so many people who actually put a lot of focus there and just don't put any focus on the actual business side of it, right? Which is, I mean, like many people as well. But there also, we have people who think that they have to put their entire focus and energy on the business side, and they don't take care of their brain or body resources, right? And I actually can tell you this, that the challenge with putting so much focus and energy on the business side without putting any focus or energy on the body side or the mind side is that when you work too hard, then you start kind of like you don't rest properly at night. Like kind of like if you're working till like 11 p.m. or midnight, then you go to bed and you wake up at, I don't know, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. You really haven't rested. Your brain hasn't rested because, I mean, the blue lights and so many other things, you know, technically you kind of have to, we kind of have something called the release day, like a release of the day exercise. And there are so many things that we do. And then when you don't do any of those things, then you start being foggy, right? And not thinking properly. And you show up on meetings, not realizing the opportunities, or not actually kind of like being creative enough to find the opportunities and the things and the things that you can do to grow your business. And one side to that is that as an entrepreneur, it's all about figuring out the deals and opportunities and being effective and productive, as opposed to working super hard. So many times people say, I don't want to work hard, I want to work smart. And we say, okay, so that's great, although it doesn't happen that way. But sure, I mean, at least if you want to work smart, you need to pay attention to what you do, that you create that smart you're talking about. And it just doesn't happen. It's planned. And then also, I mean, in this current situation, you can't just work smart. You have to work smart and you have to work hard. So if you ever are talking to me one-on-one and you say, I don't want to work hard, I want to work smart, just don't know that the simple answer to you is like, what if I'm working hard and smart? Now, how do you want to compete?
That's a very good point, actually, because a lot of times when your brain is tired, when opportunities come to you, every opportunity requires this, like your brain has to overcome this first hurdle of decision making. And not only are you going to have more difficulty focusing on the opportunity and recognizing it, but you're going to have a more difficult time making decisions about it. And oftentimes you make the decision because your brain feels tired, and the answer typically ends up being no, and you pass it up. And then somebody else comes and takes that opportunity.
Yeah. Actually, Ali, on that note, let's talk about something else here. Many entrepreneurs are in are addicted to cortisol, to high cortisol levels, and they are in fight or flight mode, and they don't even know. They really don't understand this, like kind of like what that means, even, right? And what the negative impact it can make in their lives when they're constantly stressed. And I mean, well, obviously, like when situations are bad, you are stressed, but then there is also like ways to get out of that, give your brain a little bit of rest, and so the brain can actually kind of crawl you out of that situation. But kind of like it's a very kind of negative circle that people get stuck in and don't know what to do, and just kind of like they just spiral down and down and down. And so let's talk about that, like a person who is constantly overwhelmed and concerned and stressed, and now they are in fight or flight mode. And by the way, if you're listening to this, if you ever think that everybody is coming at you, like you receive an email and you're like, why is this person shouting at me? Or like, wherever it is coming at me, that means you're in fight or flight mode. That's just a sign, right? So if you get a notification on your phone and you're frustrated just because somebody says, and nobody gets what you mean, and like all that's just a sign that you're in fight or flight mode. So now, knowing that, when we are there, give us like, what do we do?
Well, just to start off with that, a lot of times, about 90% of things that happen in your body happen subconsciously. And when they stay in your mind long enough for your brain, from your frontal cortex to catch it, that's when you become conscious of it. And a lot of times what you're feeling happens inside of you, like we were talking about cortisol. And then you look around you and you look for proof of why you feel the way that you do. So all of a sudden, the person that didn't mean anything, you're feeling lousy, and then they must be the poor person that just walked in on that mess inside of you, and you connect the two together. So it becomes very, very important for you to understand that many of the things that you feel or you logically think is because of something happens because you haven't taken care of it. But the good news also is that if you see circumstances around you that seem to be out of your control or bad things are happening to you, just by focusing on addressing the inside biochemistry, you can actually go ahead and change those circumstances. And it's not so much that the circumstances have changed, it's just that your outlook towards them has changed. And because of this different interaction, all of a sudden, things and the tensions start dissolving and your relationships become better and your productivity becomes better. Not because you became more productive or not because you became a super affectionate person. It's just because you addressed the biochemistry inside of you. So this was a long way of going back to talking about cortisol and stress and fight or flight. So we talked about those three things: the food, we talked about rest, and we talked about oxygenation. So one of the things to bring you out of the sympathetic system is breathing in a system. So for instance, one of the things that happens when you're in your sympathetic system is you breathe in, right? So somebody says boo and you go, and you breathe in. And then what happens when you're trying to relax? You go, and you exhale. So if you prolong the exhale and shorten the inhale, you force yourself to use your parasympathetic system, your rest and your digest and your healing system more. So if you breathe in for a count of 4 and breathe out for a count of 8 before going to bed, studies have shown that it's going to get you to sleep faster. It's going to give you a more rested way. And also it saturates your body with more oxygen, which now means that you have more energy to deal with things. So that would be one example of it, basically, to get you out of sympathetic. The other one is making sure, for instance, that you reduce foods that cause inflammation. And this might sound technical, but really you already know it. Eat good foods and avoid the bad foods, basically. If you can go ahead and do that, there's far-reaching implications to that, not just because of diseases, but also your performance and your productivity. If you're having brain fog, for instance, we talked about it, that's because you're asking your brain to perform, but you have not supported it. So it's really struggling to do what you're asking it to do. So again, these three factors come back into play, basically.
Okay. Now, let's begin the controversial conversation. You said good food, and I'm like, yes. Now let's talk about this. Okay, so anyways, let's actually, what is good food for the brain?
Okay, so if you listen to nutritionists and different experts, and every once in a while research comes out, you have everything from, seafood and I eat what I see to a pescatarian diet, to a paleo diet, to a vegetarian diet, to a vegan diet, to a keto diet, to a carnivore diet. And the reality is that we are omnivores. We are supposed to eat everything. That's part of our success. The reason we are all over the planet is because we can eat anything. It's just that most of us have never been conditioned to understand when we're supposed to eat, how you're supposed to eat, and what we're supposed to eat. And when we talk about healthy eating, of course, everybody focuses on what we're supposed to eat. But the when and the how become just as important, basically. And it has evolutionary and anthropological ties to it. So that's basically one of the things that we talk about in the course a lot. And so when you ask about what is a good food, it depends on when you're eating. And it depends on what you're eating it with. So people hear breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, it is if you are running your body on carbohydrates, for instance. Now, at the same time, you hear people say, oh, fats are bad. Like, for instance, bacon oil is bad. Well, bacon oil is bad if you're having lots of sugary substances with it, which makes it really sticky. But if you're on a ketogenic diet, that actually is not that bad, because you are not breaking down the sugars. There's no sugar available, and you're just breaking down the fats, and actually is a good source of fat. So it depends on what you're eating, basically, and how you put it together. And your body knows intrinsically how to work with it because of years and years of evolution and life basically out in the wilderness. That's how we learn to survive. So if you want to ask a more specific question, I'll be more than glad to answer for you.
Well, actually, that was where I was heading, because I know, like, many people like kind of like, you know, like when we go on trips and stuff, for those of you kind of who are listening to this, Ali is in my Mastermind program, and we travel a lot together, and we go to different events, seminars, conferences, marketers cruise, like we hang out kind of like everywhere together. And well, obviously, like the group of entrepreneurs who are around me and in my programs and stuff like that, they're very kind of conscious entrepreneurs who understand the way that their body works, they understand entrepreneurship, they are building successful businesses at the same time, have very healthy lifestyles and all of those things. And interesting enough, like you look at their diets are very different from each other, and yet at the same time, many of them are very healthy and very strong and very happy. And that's a thing that many times people just buy into the idea that the one diet is the best diet in the world and nothing else can work. And what I like about you, what I like about Mel is another one of our students who is in the program. She's a leader in her kind of turf, and same as Dr. L, right? And yet they come together in our mastermind. They're having conversations, and is the fact that you understand food at a different level and the way that it actually supports the body, and creating very healthy lifestyle through like this combination of the things you put in your body. So it's not like breakfast is the most important thing. Breakfast is the most important thing if you are on a diet that has lots of carbohydrates. But for example, like if you're fasting and you're doing intermittent fasting, then actually breakfast is what causes a lot of problem for that, unless you're kind of like fasting from 2 p.m. till next day at 6 a.m., which would be very hard to sleep, I think, on that. I've never done that way, but I know that probably would be hard to go to bed hungry. Anyway, so just what I wanted to get you to share was actually with the piece that you did, that it's a combination of different things and it depends on your entire plan. So here is a suggestion for you. As an entrepreneur, if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, and succeed doesn't mean making a ton of money. Succeed means having a life that you are healthy, you are happy, you're fulfilled, and you are living a life aligned with your true values. Big part of that is that you as a human being need to have a health plan, and follow that health plan, because it will impact the way that you think, it will impact the way that you can perform and you can show up. So Ali, I know that you have a gift for everybody who is on the call. Tell us about the gift. What's the gift and how can people access it?
Sure. Well, before I talk about the gift, the last thing I wanted to mention is, as I mentioned, I'm passionate about optimizing human potential and how we show up in the world. But one of the important things I believe is that nowadays with COVID is, in order for you to show up in the world, you need to have the connection online. You have to have a presence and a way to serve people online. And I couldn't have done that without the course creation, basically, with Ultimate Course Formula. So I truly believe that if you are serious about optimizing your potential on what you do and making an impact in the world, seriously look into having a course, basically, as a way of serving people online and reaching out. I have people all over the world at this point that I can help, whereas I couldn't do that before, even though my practice was I was America's top doctors. We had one of the best practices in the country, but now I'm serving people on a much bigger scale. So I don't know why I went on that, but I felt like it needed to be shared, basically. But as far as my gift for you guys is that if you want to make sure that it's what you are trying to achieve is going to be a sustainable and a successful one, whereas things are not going to fall apart. While Iman might have the business side of it with the Ultimate Course, I can handle the health side of it for you guys. I would be inviting you guys to a one-on-one session with me where we can discuss your health challenges. And if it's something that I can help with, I can point you in the right direction, and if it's not, then I can tell you that as well. But ultimately, a lot of people don't know what they don't know about their health. And just because you don't have symptoms doesn't necessarily mean that you are operating on all full cylinders, basically. You want to make sure your tank is full, all your cylinders are firing, and you want to make sure that you can go out there and achieve what you want to do. So feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than glad to sit down and talk to you about that.
Perfect. And what's the best way to reach out to you?
Actually, if they would want to reach out via you, if they want to email you, that probably would be the easiest way.
Okay.
So do you want to give your email and then let me know who were the people who were interested?
Okay, perfect. So we'll include that information for you guys in the description, in the chat box. And actually, there is a link for you in the chat box right now. And then we'll include the description. We'll include the contact information in the description for Dr. L, so you can reach out to him and connect with him directly. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ali, for being with me here on the call and going through this. Now, let me ask you one last question. If you were going to give people one success tip in 1 or 2 sentences, what would that success tip be?
The success tip that I would recommend would be to find something that you are passionate about and find the best way to share it with the world, to serve the world with it. Optimize your brain and optimize humanity's potential happens to be mine. And that's what I'm doing. So I certainly hope that you guys can find what you're passionate about and find a way to serve humanity with that passion, because it's going to be unique to everybody.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's super awesome, super amazing. Thanks again for being with me on the Course Creation Show. And look forward to seeing you soon at another event, seminar, conference, whatever, when the traveling begins again. If anybody's watching the recording, this is being recorded during the COVID time. So all the borders are locked and closed and everything. Okay, thank you very much. And look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Iman. Take care. Cheers.